My girlfriend, influenced by her toxic friend group, decided to run a ridiculous test on me during our anniversary dinner. She recited a script designed to make me beg and lose control. Instead of giving them the drama they wanted, I calmly paid the bill and walked out of her life. 6 months later, karma hit hard. Her friends' own manipulative games caused them to lose all their partners, and my ex was left completely alone. My name is Ryan. I'm 32, and I work as a freelance designer. Most of my projects are logos, website mock-ups, and marketing work. It's not a glamorous field, but it allows me to live well and maintain a stability that took me years to build. I tend to have a sarcastic sense of humor by default, but I'm straightforward. I don't tolerate disrespect, I don't play toxic games, and I never allow myself to be used. When I'm with someone, I give 100%, and I expect the same. I met Sophia. Her middle name is Laura, 2.5 years ago at a university alumni reunion. In fact, I hadn't even planned to go until my best friend Liam, his middle name is Gus, insisted I stop spending so many hours locked up working. As soon as we arrived, he disappeared almost immediately to mock someone's haircut or criticize the music, which is very typical of him. Meanwhile, I stayed near the food table, calm, with no intention of drawing attention. That's when Sophia appeared with a laugh so spontaneous that it made several people turn around. But it wasn't annoying. It was genuine, as if she truly enjoyed being alive. We started talking over something silly, an absurd poster hung on a wall with a photo of a dog that looked more worried than any tax-paying human. She told me she volunteered at an animal shelter, bottle-fed orphaned kittens, and once had to chase an escaped beagle for 2 blocks. I commented that the dog in the poster seemed to have pending bureaucratic tasks. She laughed more than necessary, and just like that, effortlessly, we connected. The first few weeks with Sophia were surprisingly easy. She talked about her days at the shelter, how she planned things long-term, her practical sense mixed with a real sensitivity towards animals. When we went out, we chose simple things: coffee, a street fair, a walk around a lake she liked. She had particular quirks. She used her hands as if conducting an invisible orchestra and gave random names to animals she saw, even if they had owners. She even started searching the internet for what it meant if a pigeon was walking with a limp. I, who don't open up quickly, realized that with her, it was different. I didn't have to force anything. The chemistry was there. Liam, logically, started snooping around to evaluate if she passed the test. He's the kind of friend who can insult you so precisely it seems like a compliment. Tall, calm, intelligent, and direct. If anyone tries to disrespect him or me, he reacts instantly, but never impulsively. He uses surgical sarcasm delivered with the most serious face in the world. When he met Sophia, he didn't even tease her. Afterward, he told me, "She seems normal. Don't mess this up." For him, that was almost a marital blessing. For the first 6 months, everything flowed smoothly. Clear communication, zero weird tension, shared tasks, good chemistry, mutual support. I was calm, and so was she. I felt we were both making the right effort without exaggerating. But there was one detail. Her 3 friends, Tara, Bella, and Noelle, at that time were just a peculiar trio who occasionally showed up. Tara analyzed people as if they were part of some social study. Bella seemed to distrust all men by default. Noelle had an almost romantic, theatrical inclination to dramatize everything. They weren't a threat, just eccentric presences. By the end of the first year, I was convinced that Sophia and I had a solid, not idealized, but stable relationship. Even Liam commented, "She's fine. She's good. Keep her." With that, I could perfectly see a future with her. What I didn't know was that those 3 friends, whom I considered simple acquaintances at the time, would become the source of every crack. In the following months, I started seeing them more often. At first I thought it was a coincidence. If I went to pick up Sophia, they were there. If we went out for lunch, one of them was coincidentally nearby. It didn't bother me, but it did catch my attention. The clear sign that something wasn't right came when Sophia invited me to dinner at her parents' house. She told me it would be a family thing. Her parents, her sister Jessica, a quiet after-dinner chat. When I arrived, I discovered that Tara, Bella, and Noelle were already settled at the table as if they were permanent family members. They had full plates and were chatting as if they had been there for hours. Sophia acted as if it were normal. "Oh yes, they were nearby, so I invited them," she said, like someone commenting that they bought bread on the way. I sat down without arguing. It wasn't my house. I greeted everyone and prepared for a dinner that very quickly started to feel strange. Tara sat directly across from me and began analyzing everything I said. Literally, when I mentioned a design project I was working on, she tilted her head, narrowed her eyes, and asked, "So why did you choose to be freelance instead of looking for something more stable?" She didn't ask out of curiosity, but as if looking for flaws. "Because I prefer to decide who I work with, and I hate offices," I replied. She took a breath as if she had uncovered an interesting mystery. That type of choice is often related to difficulties managing authority or maintaining a long-term vision. And so, word by word, she began dissecting my life as if it were an academic experiment. I took a deep breath before responding, trying not to show the obvious, that I was starting to get tired of that fluorescent-lit table. Or maybe it was just that something about that dinner didn't fit. On the other side, Jessica made a visible effort to contain her laughter every time the conversation turned awkward. Bella, on the other hand, quickly joined in with her own style. Every comment I made she turned into a general critique of men. When I mentioned that I had fixed a shelf at home, she blurted out, "Yes, right. Guys always swear they know how to fix things until they make them worse." I replied calmly, "Luckily, mine turned out fine on the first try." Bella rolled her eyes as if such a thing were impossible. Meanwhile, Noelle talked non-stop about relationships, recounting them as if narrating a dramatic movie where every minimal detail represented a hidden message from the universe. At one point, Lara recalled the time we missed a bus. She said it as a simple anecdote, but Noelle turned it into a kind of psychological analysis. "Those moments are tests, you know, seeing how he reacts. If he runs after the bus, it shows passion." I raised an eyebrow. I didn't run because it was raining, and the next one was 6 minutes away. Noelle nodded as if she knew more about my motives than I did. Still, every moment reveals something. It was Jessica who intervened again. "Not everything needs a deep meaning. Sometimes missing the bus is just that. Missing the bus." The ensuing silence said it all. Her friends didn't like being put in their place, and throughout the dinner, Jessica was attentive. She wasn't rude, but she was firm whenever an unnecessary comment arose. When Bella let slip another malicious phrase, Jessica replied, "That was a bit unfair." When Tara tried to elicit more information to make me uncomfortable, Jessica elegantly redirected the conversation. Meanwhile, Sophia seemed unaware of anything. She laughed, nodded, and went along with it as if the whole strange atmosphere were perfectly normal. Every time I tried to talk to her parents, one of her friends would jump in and answer for her, even confusing her own father. After dinner, as we moved to the living room, I saw Jessica pull Sophia aside. I didn't hear the words, but the tone was clear, serious, firm. Sophia, on the other hand, was defensive. When she returned, she acted as if nothing had happened, but something about her energy was different. Before we left, Jessica came out to the porch with me. She lowered her voice. I talked to her. I told her her friends are getting too involved in everything, and it's not healthy. I nodded. How did she take it? She defended them. She says you're judging them, and I also told her because I think you deserve to know. If she keeps listening to them more than her own judgment, this won't end well. I thanked her for her honesty. Ryan, just keep your eyes open. During the drive back, Sophia only talked about how much fun she had, how quickly her friends had fit in with her family. I responded little. We didn't argue, but my mind was elsewhere. That night, nothing dramatic happened, but it was the first time I felt that something in the relationship was beginning to shift beneath my feet. The following weeks confirmed that feeling. It all started with small things. One day, Sophia canceled a plan of ours without explanation or apology. Just a message. Today, I don't feel like it, with a weird tone, as if expecting to provoke something in me. I replied, "That's fine. Let me know next time." She seemed annoyed by my lack of drama. Then came even stranger behaviors. When we went out, and a man passed by, she would suddenly comment that someone had flirted with her that day or that many people were looking at her. She had never made those kinds of comments before. It wasn't bragging. It was a test, a constant search for a reaction. I remained calm. I wasn't going to enter any game. That calm unnerved her even more. Shortly after, she tried to start an argument over a message of mine that I didn't reply to during work. Her tone didn't sound genuinely annoyed. It sounded rehearsed, as if she were following a script. She was trying to push me towards a reaction where I would over-apologize, beg her, or lose my cool. I didn't. "I was working," I said, and went back to my task. She was left not knowing how to handle it. The more she insisted on those small tests, the more distant I became, not out of resentment, but out of self-respect. I wasn't going to reward toxic behavior. I'm loyal, but not naive. She noticed it. One night she asked me, "Are you mad at me? You seem different." I told her the truth. "You're acting weird and I'm reflecting your attitude." She remained silent for the rest of the night. One day I talked to Liam, telling him everything that had happened. He didn't let me finish. "She's acting like a teenager," he said bluntly. "If she wants a serious relationship, she has to behave like one, not like she's looking to star in a young adult drama. Don't play those games, and if she wants respect, she should start by giving it." I nodded. "I know." "Good," he replied, "because as soon as you enter that game, those 3 little gremlins she calls friends are going to taste victory." I laughed, even though I knew he was right. Shortly after, Jessica contacted me again. "Has Sophia been acting strange?" she asked. "Yes," I admitted. Jessica sighed as if she had anticipated it. I talked to her again. I told her those girls influence her too much. She got defensive. She insists I'm exaggerating, but I clearly see what's happening. She's listening to them more than her own judgment. "Why?" I asked. According to her, her friends only want what's best for her. But it's not true. They're projecting their own problems onto her relationship. I knew she was right. I had seen it. But the moment everything clicked wasn't because of something someone told me, but because of something I unintentionally overheard. One night, Sophia and I were on the sofa. She was checking her phone. She accidentally played a voice note, and the audio came through the speaker loud enough to hear clearly. The voice was Noelle's, direct, without sugarcoating. "You have to test him, seriously. Cancel things. Distance yourself a bit. See how far he goes for you. If he doesn't fight, it's not serious. You deserve a man who reacts." Sophia froze. So did I. She tried to pause the audio as quickly as she could, almost hitting the screen with her thumb, but it was too late. The room fell into a strange, charged silence, as if the air had stopped a second before exploding. The way she looked at me, wide eyes, held breath, trembling hands, was exactly that of someone caught doing something they swore they would never do. She had the look of a person trapped in the middle of an act that even she couldn't easily explain. I didn't say anything at first. I just watched her, letting that silence do its work. Sometimes silence reveals more than any direct confrontation. She tried to pretend she hadn't understood what we both heard with absolute clarity, but the tremor in her lips betrayed everything. Finally, she mumbled something clumsy. "That wasn't—" She didn't say it that way. I replied without raising my voice, without melodrama, without needing to twist the phrase. "Of course she said it that way." And she said it with exactly that intention. Sophia looked down at her phone, as if searching for a crack to escape through. She didn't respond anymore. She didn't even try. She had the posture of someone who recognizes, even if she doesn't say it, that she has just lost control of the situation. That message scrambled all the pieces of the puzzle. The sudden cancellations, The unnecessary scenes to awaken my jealousy, the abrupt mood swings, the senseless fights. Nothing had arisen naturally. Everything came from the outside. Her friends telling her what to do and her accepting every command. And that was what hurt me the most. Not that they told her, but that she followed it without question. If it had been a recent acquaintance, I would have ended everything right then. But 2 years of sharing life with someone weighs heavily. There are memories, routines, habits, affection, arguments, reconciliations, good and bad moments. And even if one wants to react like a perfect character, the truth is that no one throws away 2 years without reviewing the decision several times. So I remained silent, trying to digest what I had just heard and what it implied. Minutes later, she spoke again in a low voice. "Lately I feel you're distant." "I'm responding to how you've treated me," I replied. "You were looking for a reaction. Well, here it is." She didn't know what else to say. Her discomfort was evident. She seemed surprised that for the first time, her games had real consequences. Frustration clouded her face, as if she were discovering that the boundaries she crossed without thinking could also close against her. The rest of the night passed almost without words. I didn't soothe her anxiety. I didn't cover everything up with a joke or tell her it was okay. No, not this time. The distance she felt she had created herself. All I did was stop pretending it wasn't there. When we were heading home, she took my hand. But that gesture that used to hold warmth was now mechanical. It wasn't affection. It was more like an attempt to measure something, like checking if she still had access, if she was still in charge, if she still possessed a certain influence she took for granted. But she didn't understand that the truth was already on the table. Those tests her friends defended so much didn't serve to evaluate my actions, but to reveal who she was when no one was looking. By the end of that week, that tension was no longer a subtle detail. It had become the entire atmosphere. Every conversation seemed to have hidden agendas. Every gesture felt rehearsed, and although I hadn't said anything directly, my distance had become evident even to her. She had crossed a line she didn't know how to reverse. Our 2-year anniversary arrived on a Friday, and although the logical thing would have been to cancel any plans, I don't work that way. I prepared something special anyway, more out of self-respect than for the relationship. I chose the restaurant of our first date, small, quiet, with honest food and a serene atmosphere. And afterward, I had booked a weekend at a cabin she had mentioned months ago. When I made the reservation, everything was fine between us. I didn't cancel it, because if this was going to fall apart, I wanted to know it wouldn't be because of my lack of effort. Laura arrived dressed up, but something about her energy didn't match the occasion. There was no light in her eyes, no excitement to celebrate anything. Her smile seemed pasted on, not felt. Her body was tense, her shoulders high, her fingers restless, as if she were waiting for something to happen or following an invisible stopwatch. As soon as she got in the car, she checked her phone, and 10 seconds later, she checked it again. "Are you okay?" I asked. Yes, my head is just somewhere else," she replied without looking at me. During the drive, she spoke less than ever. Every few minutes, she'd unlock her phone, type quickly, and lock it just as fast. She didn't seem to be talking to another man, nor were there signs of infidelity. It was different. She had the attitude of someone following steps dictated by another person, a script sent via message. At the restaurant, the pattern repeated. I would say something, and she would disappear behind the screen. When she looked up and saw me watching her, she'd stiffen, as if I had discovered a secret. It wasn't my insecurity, it was her behavior that screamed something was happening. Halfway through dinner, my phone vibrated. I checked, expecting it to be Liam. It wasn't. It was Jessica. "I don't want to ruin your day, but something about Laura today doesn't fit. Listen to yourself. Stay alert." Jessica wasn't one to intervene. If she said something, it was because she considered it truly necessary. I replied, "She's already acting weird." And she replied immediately, I talked to her earlier. She was tense. Just stay alert. I put away my phone and looked at Lara. She was still glued to hers, typing with quick, almost nervous movements. She wasn't present at dinner, not even at the anniversary. She was present in another conversation, in another reality, in another plan that didn't include honesty. She had barely touched her food. She tapped her fork, moved her hands, adjusted herself over and over. Her breathing was short, and her leg moved under the table non-stop. "Is everything all right?" I asked. She gave a little jump. Yes. Why do you ask?" "You look like you're waiting for something," I commented, not accusing, just pointing out the obvious. She denied it too quickly, way too quickly. "No, I'm fine." Her phone vibrated again. She tried to act indifferent but ended up leaning down to check it. The physical reaction she had was too clear. Tense shoulders, eyes fixed on me, deep breath, as if she had just received a decisive instruction. I leaned back in my chair, keeping calm. If something was planned, she was already showing it. "Do you want dessert?" I asked. "I don't think so. I'm full," she said unconvincingly. And right after, another vibration. She lowered the phone to her lap, typing as if every word defined the outcome of something important. When the waiter passed, she blocked the screen with a speed only someone hiding something possesses. When he walked away, she unlocked it again and continued. I didn't lose my composure. I kept watching, registering every detail, every gesture, every hesitation. I was no longer sitting across from a couple enjoying an anniversary. I was across from someone preparing to execute a plan that she hadn't created, but was determined to carry out. At one point, she put down the phone, rested her hands on the table, took a deep breath, and stared at me. It looked like she was about to start a speech. Her mouth was slightly open, the calculated words on the tip of her tongue, but she stopped. She hesitated, looked down, and picked up the phone again. Another message, another instruction, another line of the script. I no longer needed Jessica's warnings. I knew exactly what was happening. The test, the manipulation, the script. It had all been constructed by her friends, and Sophia, instead of stopping it, was following it to the letter. And there, sitting in a place full of memories that she was turning into a stage, I realized something important. I wasn't angry. I wasn't sad. I wasn't nervous. I was just waiting for her to show the final part of her act. She held the phone for a few more seconds, looked at the screen as if searching for a final signal, and let out a shaky sigh before carefully placing it on the table. "Ryan," she murmured, almost in a whisper, "can we talk about something?" I didn't fill the silence with questions or try to guess where she was going. I just nodded once. She tried to maintain eye contact but couldn't. Her eyes automatically dropped to the cell phone, which lit up again with another notification. Her friends were texting her at that very moment. Whatever they were telling her, she was about to follow it to the letter. That moment hung suspended between us, heavy and evident. I leaned back in the chair, calm, while she mustered the determination to begin the speech she had been practicing. She paused for another instant, as if needing to replay the script in her mind before reciting it, and finally straightened her back, took a deep breath, and began. "I've been thinking a lot about us," she said in a tone that sounded memorized word for word, "and I feel like we're drifting apart. You don't fight for me the way someone who truly loves should. I need passion. I need effort. I need to feel like you'd do anything not to lose me." She didn't even blink while saying it. It wasn't her way of talking. It wasn't how she processed things. It wasn't even her argument. It was a speech, a text someone else prepared for her. When she finished, she remained motionless, waiting for everything to explode, as if only waiting for an alarm to go off. I watched her without changing my expression. "Who told you to say that?" I asked calmly. She swallowed. "No one. That's how I feel." "Right," I replied. "Try again." Her eyes darted back to the phone. She didn't touch it, but her gaze betrayed her. She had read instructions, memorized lines. She expected me to play my part in the scene. I sat up straight without tension. There was no anger, no fear, no bewilderment. I just looked at her. "Sophia," I said softly, "what is it you truly want?" She froze. That question wasn't part of the script. She opened her mouth, closed it, tried again, and nothing. She changed her posture repeatedly, as if searching within herself for a reason that didn't exist. She tried to say, but stopped. I leaned forward slightly. "You don't know, because this didn't come from you." She lowered her head, breathing irregularly. "I didn't prolong anything. I didn't argue. I didn't negotiate. I didn't stage the dramatic scene her friends were surely expecting her to provoke. If you're breaking up," I said directly, "then it's done." She looked up immediately, surprised. "What? Just like that? That's all?" "It's what you said you wanted, Ryan, isn't it? You were supposed to—" She stopped short, realizing what she was about to reveal. I looked at her without altering my tone. "Supposed to what?" She blinked repeatedly, nervously. "Supposed to care enough to stop me." "I'm not going to stop someone who decides to leave," I replied. "I won't chase you. I won't force you to stay. I won't beg. If you decide to walk out of my life, then walk out." Her expression crumbled as if she had witnessed an unexpected twist no one had contemplated. She didn't know how to react to a breakup without shouting, without pleading, without losing control. She had come prepared for chaos, not self-control. She had come prepared for a script given to her by Bella, Tara, Noelle, whoever. "You're not even fighting for us," she stammered. I shook my head slowly. "You can't throw a relationship off a cliff and then complain that I didn't jump after it." She was speechless. The waiter approached cautiously, noticing the tension. Without waiting for her to speak, I handed him my card. "I've got this," I told him. Sophia watched me without understanding anything that was happening. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't insult her. I didn't show anger. And I didn't hesitate. When they returned with the check, I signed it. I put down the pen, pushed my chair in, and looked at her one last time. "You chose a path," I told her. "Now own it." She reached out a hand, as if to stop me, but didn't know how. "Ryan, wait." "For what?" I asked. She couldn't answer. I turned and walked out of the restaurant, calm, firm, completely decided. She had her phone, her sister, and that group of people she chose to listen to instead of me. From that moment on, going home was no longer my responsibility. The reaction didn't take an hour. First, a couple of missed calls, then messages. I didn't want it to turn out this way. "We can talk. You're misinterpreting what happened. You shouldn't have left like that." I didn't answer anything. The next morning, Jessica called me, and I answered because she never called without a serious reason. "Did something happen last night?" she asked cautiously. "Yes," I replied. "It's over." She let out a long sigh, as if she already suspected it but held on to the hope of being wrong. "I'm sorry, Ryan, truly." "Don't apologize," I said. "It was her decision." "Not exactly," she replied softly. "The decision was made by her friends." I didn't say anything, so she continued. "I found out this morning. A mutual acquaintance told me Tara and Noelle were texting Sophia during dinner. They marked the exact minute for her to deliver the speech. They literally told her, 'Do it before dessert so he doesn't think you're having a good time.'" From before she spoke a single word, the atmosphere in the restaurant had said it all. The quick glances at her phone, hidden under the table, the way she changed her posture when the screen lit up, the way she took a breath as if waiting for a signal to initiate a rehearsed dialogue. Every detail accumulated like pieces of a disagreeably obvious puzzle. It wasn't a spontaneous attempt to end the relationship. It was a staged scene, a memorized role, a shared performance between her and those who had influenced her. Jessica, who always had more common sense than all her friends put together, looked at me with a mixture of pity and frustration. "Ryan," she said slowly, "this didn't come just from her. They pressured her. They pushed her to do it." I nodded and rested my elbows on the table. staring at a fixed point so as not to vent my irritation on anyone. "I know," I replied calmly. I had already noticed. The only thing that truly mattered was that Sophia chose to listen to other people rather than facing herself or what we had. She surrendered her judgment, her voice, her will, and allowed a group of friends with too much free time to direct a relationship that never belonged to them. Jessica sighed with a weariness that showed she hadn't just seen it coming, but had been trying to prevent it for some time. "I truly regret all this." "It's okay," I said. "It's over, and I won't wear myself out dwelling on it." I didn't feel anger, confusion, or pain. What I felt was something deeper, almost liberating, a boundary I finally understood I needed to set. For the first time in months, clarity reached me without obstacles. The following days became an endless parade of notifications. My phone vibrated so much it seemed about to overheat. Unanswered calls, messages piled one after another, notifications arriving like a thunderstorm. It was as if she were desperate to push back a door that she herself had forcefully closed. The texts changed tone every few minutes. It wasn't serious. It was just a test you shouldn't have taken so literally. "You're misinterpreting everything. We have to talk right now. Answer me. You can't ignore me." And then the classic attempt at guilt-tripping manipulation. "I can't believe you're giving up so easily." That message made me laugh out loud. Giving up? I hadn't ended anything. It was she who decided to turn the relationship into a ridiculous exam, convinced by people incapable of sustaining their own bonds. By noon of the second day of bombardment, Liam showed up at my apartment unannounced. He didn't knock normally. He delivered a sharp rap on the door and walked in as if it were his own home. He looked at my face, then saw the screen lit up with dozens of notifications, and smiled with that irony that always characterized him. "So, your ex's stage play went wrong," he commented, dropping onto the sofa as if the situation were an episode he had seen before. I sighed. She failed the test before taking it. Gus, who came in behind him, took my phone, read one of the messages with a mocking tone, and shook his head. "Brother, this is why you don't take advice from people whose most stable relationship is a monthly gym membership fee." He handed me the phone and stretched out as if he'd come to spend the afternoon. "But seriously," he added, "I commend you. Anyone else would have given in as soon as they saw fake tears or a scene." "She didn't even cry," I commented. "It looked like a poorly practiced script." "That's worse," he replied. "There wasn't even authentic drama, just cheap emotional theater." Although it sounded like a joke, his tone held a seriousness that supported me. He wasn't minimizing the situation. He was reminding me that I had the right to act with dignity. That same night, Jessica called me. Her voice sounded tired, perhaps from the weight of having witnessed something she never wanted to validate. "Ryan, I'm sorry," she said, lowering her voice. "I wish I could say I'm surprised, but I'm not. You warned her." "She simply didn't want to listen to you," I reminded her. There was a pause. "She's been crying all day," she confessed, "but I made it clear that it's her responsibility, not yours." "Is she still being influenced by her friends?" I asked. "Obviously," she replied with a sigh. "Now they're saying your attitude proves something about you." I told them the only thing it proves is that she handled everything in the worst possible way. I appreciated her frankness. Jessica never justified the unjustifiable. "Don't worry," I said. "All of this only confirmed what I needed to see." For 2 weeks, Sophia insisted relentlessly. Short texts at first, then full paragraphs, then silence for an entire day, followed by new chains of messages. There were no real apologies, no responsibility, no reflection, only desperate attempts to reverse a consequence she didn't expect. I didn't reply to any of them until one Thursday afternoon. Someone knocked on the door. I looked through the peephole and saw her there with a cardboard box in her arms, holding it as if it were a bridge to something that no longer existed. I opened the door only slightly. "Why are you here?" "I brought your favorite snacks and a letter," she replied, holding up the box as if it were a gift of reconciliation. Inside were chips, chocolates, and some things she knew I liked. It was a mix of effort, desperation, and fear. She walked in without asking permission, which already revealed to me that she hadn't come to talk. She had come to try to repair things without taking responsibility. "I didn't want to break up with you," she blurted out. "It wasn't real. I didn't think you would seriously leave." "But you said it," I replied without raising my voice. "It was a test," she repeated, her voice trembling. "My friends said that's how I'd know if you were committed." "Your friends told you to end your relationship," I said firmly. "And you did." She blinked repeatedly, as if only now understanding the impact of her own decisions. "They just wanted to help." "That's precisely the problem," I countered. "You weren't saying anything of your own. It was someone else's script." She pulled out the letter and extended it to me with trembling hands. "Please, read it. I explain it there." I didn't take it. "Explain it now." She tried to speak but couldn't articulate anything, just like that night. She had no reasons or clarity, only guilt, confusion, and fear of facing the consequences. Finally, she murmured, "I ruined everything." "Yes," I admitted. "You did. I can fix it." "You can't," I said, with a firm tone that left no room. Her eyes filled with soft but sincere tears. They weren't manipulative tears. They were the tears of someone who understood she had crossed a point of no return. "You don't even want to try?" "You were the one who ended this," I repeated. "I just accepted your decision. There's nothing more to discuss." She looked at me as if the man in front of her were a stranger, as if she expected a reaction that never came. She backed towards the exit with the box in her arms. "So, is it really over?" "It was over the moment you turned it into a game," I replied. "I'm not here to be evaluated. I'm here to be respected." She nodded weakly, swallowed, and left the apartment. I didn't follow her with my gaze. I closed the door, secured the lock, and let the stillness fill the air. No shouting, no scenes, no pleading, just a clear ending. And for the first time in months, I felt an authentic peace. The breakup hit Sophia hard, but the hardest blow went to her group of friends. Not because they cared about my relationship, but because, upon losing the subject that kept them busy, they started turning their attention towards each other, and the very patterns they used to sabotage my relationship began to destroy what they touched. Tara, for example, started dating a coworker a month later. At first, she seemed calm, even mature, but soon her inspector mode resurfaced. She questioned why he replied with certain emojis, why he took so long to text back, why he liked colleagues' posts, why he replied maybe instead of probably. She pressured him so much that, as I heard later, he told several colleagues that being with her was like being in a permanent interrogation. They lasted barely 3 weeks. For a long time, Tara tried to convince everyone that the problem was that he was hiding something. But the people around her already perfectly understood the reality. It wasn't a conspiracy or a mystery. It was simply her way of avoiding taking responsibility for her own decisions. Bella also tried to date again. Through a mutual friend, she met a man who, I learned, was respectful, attentive, and genuinely intended to build something stable. He invited her out to quiet places, worried about how she was, and tried to establish a healthy pace. However, she interpreted every gesture as a threat. It was enough for him to take a few minutes longer to reply for her to accuse him of being a liar. If he went out with his friends, she insinuated he was seeing another woman. Even when he gave her a sincere compliment, she analyzed it as if it concealed a double meaning. After 2 weeks, the man ended the relationship. According to the person who introduced them, he said something that many were already thinking. She's so busy looking for betrayal that she ends up fabricating it herself. Over time, people began to distance themselves from Bella because the energy she transmitted was exhausting. But the one who ended up hardest hit was Noelle. She liked a guy from the gym, A quiet man with no taste for drama or complications. Everything seemed to be going well until Noelle decided to repeat the same breakup test she had pushed Sophia to try with me. She told the guy she needed space to think, expecting him to react desperately and chase her. He just replied, "Okay." And the next day we learned he blocked her. The worst part was that shortly after, someone commented to him that Noelle had been the one who insisted Sophia pull that same stunt in my relationship. As soon as that detail came to light, the entire image of the relationship expert that Noelle had built for herself collapsed. People stopped asking her for advice because she herself had been the cause of someone else's romantic disaster. From then on, the relationship between the friends themselves crumbled. According to Jessica, the group chat turned into a constant war, and eventually the three stopped talking to each other. And Sophia, her downfall was quiet, but profound. Once they fought among themselves, they stopped appearing in her life. They were no longer there to cheer her up, justify her decisions, or tell her she had done the right thing by breaking up with me. They simply disappeared. All those people she defended so fiercely abandoned her as soon as their own worlds began to crack. She was left alone with the consequences. At some point, according to Jessica, Sophia finally confessed the truth, that she regretted everything she had done. She said she should have thought for herself, that she had taken too long to realize that the friendship she sacrificed our relationship for wasn't even authentic. Jessica listened in silence and then told her what no one else had dared to say. "I warned you, Sophia." This time, Sophia didn't reply with excuses. She just nodded and cried. Meanwhile, my life moved forward quietly but constantly. Work began to flow better than ever. I slept well, I organized myself, I cooked more at home, I maintained a solid routine, I went to the gym, and I stopped waking up with that pressure in my chest. The calm in my apartment stopped feeling empty and began to feel like a rest I had needed for a long time. Liam remained exactly the same, sarcastic, direct, and loyal. He would drop by every now and then, sometimes to make sure I was okay, others to eat some of what I cooked, and others just to drop unnecessary comments like, "Proud of you for cutting those emotional parasites out of your life." He kept things light, real, without drama. I also continued talking to Jessica, not for any romantic purpose or anything like that. She never insinuated anything, she just stayed close with respect, sending an occasional message to see if everything was still in order. And I valued that she was a straightforward person, without hidden agendas. Sometimes she would tell me how Sophia's life was going, not to open old wounds, but because she understood I had the right to know the full closure of that stage. I, for my part, didn't hold a grudge. I wasn't looking for revenge. Life had its way of sorting things out without me lifting a finger. Over time, everyone showed who they truly were. Her friends showed their true colors. Sophia demonstrated how easily influenced she could be. And I discovered that I wasn't the kind of man who needed to beg to stay in a place where he wasn't respected. 6 months later, I finally recognized myself, but not in the way one returns after a breakup, but as if I had discovered a clearer, firmer version of who I was. I wasn't running away from new relationships, though I wasn't in any hurry to look for one either. I had learned that peace of mind was not a void to be filled, but a space to be enjoyed without guilt. That stability was worth more than any intense emotion accompanied by chaos or demands disguised as love. During that time, I understood precisely what I wanted to build with someone, and also everything I would never allow again. I didn't need tests or games or forced displays of commitment. If someone with an authentic connection appeared at some point, I would welcome them without reservations. But if that didn't happen, I would still be fine. There was no urgency, no sense of loss, no pressure to fit into stories that didn't belong to me. Looking back, I realized that that breakup had not been a tragedy. The really damaging thing would have been to stay clinging to something that was already broken long before. Freeing myself from that dynamic was what allowed me to truly breathe. And if I'm clear about one thing now, it's that ending that chapter on time was one of the best decisions I made in my life.